Captain Ilara Chen's knuckles turned white as she gripped the command console, the tactical display before her sputtering as the UEAS Indomitable systems failed one by one. Klaxons blared throughout the ship, emergency lighting casting everything in an ominous red glow. The massive Vraxian warships encircled them like predators, their distinctive blade-shaped hulls gleaming against the backdrop of Ta City. Direct hit to decks 3 through 7, Lieutenant Rice reported, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. Shield generators at critical failure. We've lost 38% of the crew, Captain. Chen locked eyes with her XO, Commander of AC. They'd prepared for this scenario. The One Earth Command, deemed statistically inevitable, given the technological edge of the Vraxian Dominion. Through the view screen, she watched a Vraxian cruiser adjust its position, energy readings indicating its main cannon was preparing to deliver the killing blow. Execute Orion Protocol, Chen ordered with eerie calm. All remaining personnel to emergency pods. The bridge crew hesitated for just a moment, their faces reflecting the gravity of the order. This wasn't just a tactical retreat, it was their final contingency plan. Ma'am, Chief Engineer Dominguez's voice crackled through the damaged comm system. Reactor containment is failing. We have 7 minutes at most. Understood. Chen's voice remained steady. Trigger the quantum package on my mark. Commander Abasi approached her chair, speaking quietly enough that only she could hear. Captain, the survival probability for this maneuver is... I've read the projections. Adam, she interrupted, using his first name for perhaps the first time in their 5 years serving together. Sometimes human intuition outperforms statistical models. We're going to survive this. Around them, bridge officers moved with practiced efficiency despite their fear, downloading critical systems data and erasing others. Lieutenant Tanaka, their tactical officer, calibrated the quantum package, an experimental device Earth's scientists had developed specifically for this scenario. Chen opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. The Indomitable may fall today, but humanity will not. Remember your training. Remember Earth. Remember that humans have always been at our best when all hope seems lost. She paused, allowing her words to reach every surviving compartment. It has been the highest honor of my life to serve with each of you. Through the view screen, the Vraxian fleet closed in for the kill. Their ships moved in perfect formation, a testament to their military precision and the absolute certainty of their victory. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The Vraxians understood warfare as a science, predictable, mathematical, certain. They had no concept of humanity's capacity for the impossible. Quantum package armed, Tanaka confirmed. Commence emergency evacuation, Chen ordered. All sections report. One by one, each department confirmed readiness. Emergency pods were prepared. Critical systems were rigged for the deception. The surviving crew, just 62 of the original 180, moved to their designated positions. Admiral Krithal is hailing us, Communications Officer Jensen announced. He's demanding our surrender. No response, Chen replied. Let them think we're in chaos. The Vraxian flagship launched a final volley, its energy weapons tearing through the Indomitable's already compromised hull. Fires erupted across multiple decks as life support systems began to fail. Now, Chen ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. Mark. Lieutenant Tanaka activated the quantum package. A blinding flash erupted from the Indomitable's core, expanding outward in a sphere of brilliant energy. To the watching Vraxian fleet, it appeared that the human warship had suffered a catastrophic reactor breach, tearing itself apart in a final violent explosion. Aboard the Vraxian command ship, Admiral Krithal's mandibles clicked in satisfaction as he transmitted victory announcements across their vast empire. After 3 years of brutal conflict, humanity's last significant military asset had been obliterated, and Earth would soon join their collection of conquered worlds. What the Vraxians didn't realize, the human concept of playing dead had just been elevated to an interstellar scale. 2 months later, a Vraxian supply convoy exited faster than light travel at the fringes of the Procyon system, metal containers of war materials destined for the front lines. The lead vessel's captain performed routine sensor sweeps, noting nothing unusual until a brief energy spike registered on long-range scanners. Sensor ghost, the technician dismissed. Fourth one this cycle. The convoy continued forward, unaware they were being meticulously tracked. Deep within an unmapped asteroid field, the command center of the Indomitable hummed with activity, no longer resembling the bridge of an Earth warship. Captain Chen stood before a holographic display, watching the convoy's movement as her crew operated from jury-rigged stations. "They're following the exact route intelligence predicted," she noted to her XO. Status of the modifications. Commander Abasi gestured to where Chief Engineer Dominguez worked with a team on what appeared to be a fusion of human and salvaged Vraxian technology. The phased cloaking system has been integrated with our remaining hull sections. Power consumption is higher than we'd like, but it'll hold. The command center fell silent as Lieutenant Jensen approached with a datapad. "Captain, we've intercepted another broadcast from Earth. The Vraxians have established their first ground bases." Chen accepted the pad, her expression unchanged though her eyes darkened. "Casualties? Minimal, ma'am. They're being methodical." What had appeared to be the Indomitable's destruction had been an elaborate deception. The explosion had been carefully controlled, violent enough to appear catastrophic, while ejecting the ship's core sections in a manner disguised as debris. The quantum package had released a burst of particles that temporarily blinded Vraxian sensors, allowing the crippled but functional heart of the vessel to drift away. The emergency pods, rather than evacuating the crew, had reassembled under cover of the explosion's aftermath, bringing together the essential components of what was now a much smaller but still lethal warship. For 8 weeks, they had hidden, recovered, and modified their vessel using technology salvaged from abandoned Vraxian outposts. Chen called her officers together in what had once been the auxiliary maintenance bay, now serving as their mess hall and briefing room. The surviving crew, just 62 personnel, gathered around tables fabricated from hull plating. "The Vraxians believe they've won," Chen began, activating a holographic display of enemy fleet movements. "Their forces are spreading thin across 3 sectors, preparing for Earth's occupation. Their supply lines are extended, and their command ships are moving in predictable patterns." Lieutenant Tanaka raised her hand. "Captain, even with our modifications, we're severely outgunned. We can't engage their battle groups directly." "We're not going to," Chen replied with a glint in her eye. "The Vraxians have spent centuries conquering species who fight like they do, through direct confrontation and overwhelming force. But humans have been fighting each other for millennia, and we've developed entirely different strategies." She adjusted the display to highlight a small outpost in the Proxima Centauri system. "This facility coordinates their fleet movements toward Earth. It's minimally defended because it's well within their territory. No one would be foolish enough to attack it directly." "No one except us," Commander Abasi added with a wry smile. Chen nodded. "Precisely. We're going to hit targets they don't expect to defend, create confusion in their command structure, and make them believe they're facing multiple human ships using advanced technology." Psychological warfare, Chief Engineer Dominguez realized. "The greatest weapon humans have ever developed," Chen confirmed. "The Vraxians believe us to be predictable, honorable opponents who would rather die fighting than adapt our tactics. We're going to show them why Earth's history is filled with smaller forces defeating larger ones." She looked at each officer in turn, seeing determination replace despair in their eyes. "We can't match their firepower, but we don't need to. We just need to shatter their certainty of victory." As the briefing concluded, the modified Indomitable powered up its engines, leaving the safety of the asteroid field for the first time since its apparent destruction. Its hull had been reconfigured and blackened, its energy signature masked by technology the Vraxians had never considered possible. The hunt had begun. The Vraxian military outpost on Proxima Centauri III bustled with bureaucratic efficiency. Commander Zextar reviewed the final invasion timetables for the Earth campaign with board detachment. The conquest was considered such a certainty that the post had begun reassigning resources to future operations. The resistance on the human colony of Mars has been neutralized, his adjutant reported, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. Preliminary ground forces have established 3 primary landing zones on Earth's northern continent. Zextar acknowledged the report with a dismissive gesture. After the destruction of the UES Indomitable, human military assets had crumbled predictably. Another inferior species that had expanded beyond its capabilities, now facing the inevitable consequence of encountering the Vraxian Dominion. The facility's warning systems activated without preamble. Not a gradual alert or distant detection, but immediate proximity alarms that signaled an impossible scenario. An unidentified vessel had appeared within their defensive perimeter. "Report," Zextar demanded, rising from his command chair. "Unknown configuration." The sensor operator responded, compound eyes widening. "It appeared from nowhere. Our scanners detected no approach trajectory." On the main display, a vessel of unfamiliar design hovered less than 10 kilometers from the outpost. Its hull bore no insignia or identifying markers, though certain elements suggested human engineering principles. Before Zextar could issue orders, the first salvo of magnetically accelerated projectiles tore through their communication arrays with surgical precision. Aboard the Indomitable, Lieutenant Tanaka maintained a white-knuckled grip on her tactical console. "Targeting systems locked on secondary objectives," she reported. "Sensor platforms and defense batteries isolated." Captain Chen watched the outpost's feeble response with cold calculation. "Deploy the adaptive penetrators." These weapons, hybrid technology created from salvaged Vraxian shield emitters and Earth's ballistic principles, phased through the outpost's defensive screens as though they didn't exist. Each missile struck with devastating effect, not to maximize casualties, but to systematically dismantle the facility's critical infrastructure. "They're attempting to establish contact with the regional command," Communications Officer Jensen reported. "Our jamming is holding, but they've activated their distress beacon." Chen nodded. "Boarding team status. Ready in the launch bay." Commander Abasi confirmed from his station. "Strike team is equipped with the modified Vraxian translation matrices and data extraction tools." "Launch," Chen ordered. "You have 15 minutes, Commander." A specialized boarding pod detached from the Indomitable's ventral section, accelerating toward the outpost's emergency airlock. Inside, Commander Abasi and 5 crew members checked their weapons one final time. These weren't standard military issue, but hybrid designs combining Earth firearms with Vraxian energy modulators, weapons that would leave confusion about their origin. The pod latched onto the outpost hull, cutting tools slicing through the outer doors. Within moments, the strike team breached the command center amid chaos and emergency lighting. Vraxian personnel scattered, many believing they faced a much larger invasion force. "Control room secured," Abasi reported through his comm unit, beginning data extraction. While Security Officer Rodriguez kept the Vraxian staff contained, Technical Specialist Park connected their quantum decryption device to the outpost's main computer. The device, a marriage of human algorithms and Vraxian components, bypassed security protocols and began downloading the complete database. Meanwhile, engineering specialist Kruz planted evidence throughout the facility, modified energy signatures, non-standard weapon impacts, and radiation traces that suggested multiple attack craft of unknown origin. "Data secured," Park announced. "We got fleet deployments, command codes, and communication protocols." "Plant the package," Abasi ordered. Cruz attached a small device to the outpost's backup power system, not an explosive, but a specialized transmitter that would intermittently broadcast phantom energy signatures for weeks to come. 12 minutes after breaching, the strike team retreated to their boarding pod, leaving behind bewildered survivors and precisely calculated damage. The pod reattached to the Indomitable, which immediately activated its phased cloaking system. All personnel recovered. A Basu reported upon returning to the bridge. Mission successful, Captain. Chen nodded. Take us out of the system, Lieutenant Reyes. Random jump pattern as planned. The Indomitable disappeared from Proxima Centauri space, leaving no trace of its presence except the devastation it had caused. 17 minutes after appearing, the vessel that officially didn't exist vanished back into the darkness. 3 hours later, the first Vraxian reinforcements arrived to find a crippled outpost and thoroughly confused survivors. Their initial reports described an attack by multiple human vessels using unknown technology. The seeds of doubt had been planted. Aboard the Indomitable, Intelligence Officer Maya Kepper's fingers danced across the interface of their isolated data center. The information stolen from the Proxima outpost scrolled before her eyes, revealing patterns and vulnerabilities that caused her to sit up straighter with each passing minute. They're stretched thin, she announced to the assembled command staff, highlighting sectors of Vraxian-controlled space on the projection. What we're seeing isn't an empire at the height of power. It's an empire on the brink of overextension. The stolen intelligence revealed critical weaknesses. The Vraxian communication network relied on 6 primary relay stations positioned at strategic points. Their supply lines depended on predictable routes. Most importantly, their command structure operated on rigid protocols that left little room for adaptation. Their entire fleet distribution is based on statistical models. Kapper continued, bringing up a 3-dimensional map of Vraxian deployments. They allocate resources according to probability calculations, and every calculation assumes human forces were largely destroyed with the Indomitable. Lieutenant Tanaka leaned forward, studying the patrol patterns. They have minimal coverage in these sectors. Their confidence in our defeat has created blind spots. They've already developed 3 different theories about what happened at Proxima, Kapper added, amusement edging into her voice. None are accurate, but I'll assume we have more ships and more personnel than survived. Chief Engineer Dominguez scratched his beard thoughtfully. We're still held together with spit and prayers. The phased cloaking drains our reactor reserves each time we use it. We can't fight a conventional war. We aren't going to, Captain Chen responded, studying the Vraxian deployment patterns. We're going to fight a psychological one. She stepped to the center of the room, all eyes turning to her. I want options for our next target. Something that maximizes confusion while minimizing risk to this vessel. Commander Abesi highlighted a sector near Epsilon Indi. Their command cruiser Relentless Death is patrolling this region with minimal escort. They're coordinating supply movements for the Earth occupation forces. Too heavily armed, Chen dismissed. We need something that bleeds their confidence, not their personnel. Kapper zoomed in on a different sector. Supply convoy Alpha 7. Minimal defenses, but critical materials for their forward bases. The manifest includes communication equipment and shield generators. If we hit it, Tanaka reasoned, they'll have to divert military assets to protect future convoys. Chen nodded, a plan forming. We don't just hit it, we make it disappear. No distress call, no debris field. We take what we need and leave a mystery. The plan emerged with elegant simplicity. Use strategic strikes combined with electronic warfare to create the illusion of multiple human warships. Their goal wasn't to win through superior firepower, but to shatter the Vraxian certainty of victory. Lieutenant Tanaka, Chen continued, I want our electronic warfare suite reconfigured to project multiple ship signatures simultaneously. Make them think they're dealing with a squadron, not a single vessel. The tactical officer nodded. Yes, Captain. I can modify our sensor array to broadcast false targeting data. With the right calibration, I could simulate up to 7 distinct vessels. Lieutenant Jensen, analyze their communication protocols. Find exploitable patterns we can use to insert false information into their network. Earth developed warfare over thousands of years of fighting ourselves. Chen explained to her officers. The Vraxians evolved with external threats. They understand invasion and defense, but they've never experienced guerrilla warfare, insurgency, or asymmetric conflict. They have no concept of a smaller force deliberately avoiding direct engagement. Dominguez looked skeptical. "Captain, even with these tricks, we're still just one ship against an empire." "A ship they believe destroyed," Chen countered. "Our greatest advantage is that we shouldn't exist. Every action we take contradicts their understanding of reality." She pointed to the Vraxian fleet distribution. "Their entire strategy assumes predictable human responses. We'll be unpredictable. We'll strike where they feel safest. We'll vanish before they can respond." As the briefing concluded, Chen left her officers with the thought that embodied humanity's approach to survival. To win this war, we don't need to destroy their fleet. We just need to destroy their confidence. The modified Indomitable altered course, its destination set for the supply convoy that would become the next chapter in its impossible campaign. In the ship's makeshift medical bay, 16 wounded crew members from previous engagements listened as Dr. Patel shared news of their next mission, their spirits lifting with the realization that their sacrifices were part of a strategy that might actually save Earth. Hope, like the Indomitable itself, refused to die. The Vraxian command cruiser Relentless Death patrolled the frontier world of Epsilon Indi I, a resource-rich planet recently added to their empire. The bridge remained calm and orderly until sensor alarms shattered the routine. Multiple energy signatures emerged from faster-than-light travel simultaneously. 7 warships of Earth configuration, weapons charged, and on intercept courses. "Impossible," Fleet Commander Vexnar snarled, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. Their fleet was destroyed in the Sol campaign. Confirmation on signatures, the sensor officer reported, compound eyes widening. 7 distinct vessels. Configuration matches Earth military design, but energy outputs exceed known parameters. The Vraxian vessels responded with textbook precision, launching fighter screens and charging main batteries according to standard combat protocols. But as they prepared to engage, the Earth ships vanished from sensors, only to reappear at different coordinates seconds later. "They're using some form of phase technology," the tactical officer declared. "Targeting systems cannot establish lock." Aboard the very real and singular Indomitable, Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka orchestrated the electronic symphony of phantom signatures. The ship's modified sensor array projected false targeting data while specialized drones, launched hours earlier, emitted energy signatures that mimicked capital ships. Her fingers adjusted parameters in real time, creating an illusion of an entire battle group executing complex maneuvers. "The Vraxian flagship is diverting power to their forward shields," she reported. "They've taken the bait." Captain Chen nodded from her command chair. "Execute Phase 2. Bring us in from their blind spot." While the Vraxian fleet frantically tracked ghost signals and phantom torpedoes, the Indomitable slipped through their defense grid from an entirely unexpected vector. Their actual attack came not with devastating firepower, but with precise, calculated strikes, disabling engines, weapon systems, and communications without causing catastrophic damage. "Main propulsion on the flagship disabled," Tanaka confirmed. "Their auxiliary systems are attempting to compensate, but they're effectively immobilized." "Secondary targets?" Chen asked. "The support vessels are breaking formation, attempting to establish a defensive perimeter around the flagship. Their coordination is deteriorating." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Exactly as predicted. Deploy the message buoy." As the Vraxian vessels drifted powerless, a small device attached itself to the hull of the flagship. It activated an audio transmission that broadcast on an open channel in the Vraxian language. "This is Captain Ilara Chen of Earth. Today we spare your lives as a message to your leaders. Humanity cannot be erased through conventional warfare. We will strike from shadows, vanish before you can respond, and you will never know our true numbers or capabilities. Withdraw from human space, or next time, we won't be so merciful." The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving the Vraxian command structure in disarray. All Phantom signals are maintaining their positions, Tanaka reported. Enemy vessels are still attempting to target them. Recall the drones and take us out of the system, Chen ordered. Random jump pattern as planned. The Indomitable activated its phase cloak, disappearing from conventional detection. To the Vraxian sensors, it appeared as if the Phantom fleet had simply vanished, leaving behind a disabled command cruiser and thoroughly confused crew. Commander Abasi approached Chen as the ship entered FTL. "Do you think they'll take the message seriously?" "Not immediately," she replied. "But doubt is like a virus. Once introduced, it spreads on its own." The psychological impact proved devastating. Within days, reports of Earth Phantom fleets multiplied across the Empire, many generated by nervous Vraxian commanders, mistaking sensor anomalies for imminent attacks. Patrol ships fired on shadow readings, supply convoys diverted from optimal routes, and garrison commanders requested reinforcements against non-existent threats. In the Vraxian High Command facility on Ta City IV, Admiral Krithel reviewed the growing list of Phantom sightings with increasing alarm. Sophisticated species that had evolved compound eyes should not be susceptible to seeing ghosts. Yet his empire was now haunted by a fleet that, according to all logic, could not exist. "Find them," he ordered his staff. "Whatever it takes." But how does one find a ghost? And more troublingly, how many ghosts were there to find? The Vraxian High Command facility on Ta City IV, a fortress-like structure built to project imperial dominance, now buzzed with unprecedented agitation. Admiral Krithel faced the holographic projection of the Emperor's representative, struggling to maintain composure. "These humans employ primitive deception tactics," he insisted, though confidence had abandoned his voice. "Our intelligence confirms they have limited resources, perhaps one ship, possibly two. Yet reports of attacks have occurred in 17 systems simultaneously," the Emperor's representative countered, mandibles tight with disapproval. "Explain this discrepancy, Admiral." Krithel's antenna flattened submissively. "We believe they are utilizing some form of advanced projection technology, creating sensor phantoms to divide our forces. And this technology was not accounted for in your conquest assessment." The question hung in the air, unanswerable. Throughout the heated strategic debate, no one noticed the small maintenance drone silently interfacing with the facility's central computer. Constructed from salvaged Vraxian parts by the Indomitable's engineering team, it methodically uploaded a sophisticated virus into their military network. Meanwhile, light years away, Captain Chen studied the final approach vectors for their boldest move yet. The Indomitable had undergone another transformation, its hull now bearing markings that mimicked Vraxian auxiliary vessels, a disguise that would hold up to casual observation if not detailed scanning. "The virus package is transmitting on schedule," Communications Officer Jensen reported. "High Command systems are accepting the upload." Chen nodded. "Status of our infiltration drone: still undetected. Its position near their central processor." "Prepare for phase transition," Chen ordered. "All stations report readiness for direct engagement." Throughout the ship, the remaining crew moved with practiced efficiency. 2 months of continuous operations had transformed them from conventional military personnel into something closer to insurgents, adaptable, resourceful, and unburdened by traditional tactical constraints. "Engineering reports ready," Commander Abasi confirmed. "Though Dominguez warns this will be our last major phase jump before the system requires complete recalibration." "Understood," Chen replied. "It will be worth it." "Lieutenant Tanaka, status of the Phantom projectors." The tactical officer looked up from her console. "All 30 ghost signatures programmed and ready to deploy." Chen took a moment to survey her bridge, once a state-of-the-art command center, now a patchwork of Earth and Vraxian technology, held together by ingenuity and determination. Whatever happened next, these officers had already achieved the impossible. "Execute jump," she ordered. The Indomitable dropped its cloak directly in the tenacity system, broadcasting transponder codes of 30 different Earth vessels simultaneously. Before the confused Vraxian defense fleet could organize a coherent response, the ship launched precision strikes against their orbital shipyards. The virus activated during the ensuing chaos, triggering cascading failures throughout the Vraxian military network. Defense screens fluctuated unpredictably, weapons systems initiated emergency shutdowns, and navigation computers displayed phantom targets in all directions. Command ships lost contact with their subordinate vessels, creating a communications blackout across 3 sectors. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Lieutenant Jensen monitored the spreading digital contagion. The virus has reached their command protocols. They're experiencing system-wide failures. Show them our message, Chen ordered. On every functioning Vraxian display across the system, a simple text appeared in their language. We can end you anytime. Your choice whether it's today or tomorrow. As planned, the Indomitable vanished back into the darkness, leaving 30 ghost signatures behind. Each one maneuvering independently, each one triggering Vraxian defensive protocols. The psychological warfare reached its crescendo as military discipline began to crack. Patrol ships fired on sensor ghosts, supply convoys were routed to avoid sections of space where no threat existed, and garrison commanders requested reinforcements against non-existent human fleets. In the High Command facility, Admiral Krithel watched helplessly as his strategic display showed human vessels appearing throughout Vraxian territory. Intelligence reports, fleet deployments, and supply coordination, all compromised. What had begun as a straightforward conquest had transformed into an embarrassment that threatened to undermine the Empire's stability. Summon the War Council, he finally ordered, a decision that would bring the Emperor himself into direct involvement. This situation requires revaluation. The words tasted bitter. The closest any Vraxian military commander had come to admitting defeat in 8 centuries of expansion. The throne room of Emperor Zorax VI radiated ancient power, its walls adorned with trophies from 1,000 conquered worlds. The Emperor himself sat unnaturally still, multifaceted eyes fixed on Admiral Krithel as the military leader concluded his assessment. The humans employ strategies outside our tactical framework, the Admiral admitted, mandibles tight with suppressed tension. Their technology appears rudimentary, yet they utilize it in ways our doctrines cannot predict or counter. Imperial strategist Melvon, a scholar who had studied 57 species driven to extinction by Vraxian conquest, added, their approach defies conventional analysis. No species in our historical record has adapted this rapidly to superior force. One ship, the Emperor's voice carried dangerous harmonics. You speak of one ship causing this chaos. One confirmed ship, Your Eminence, Krithel clarified, antenna flattening submissively. But its capabilities suggest human military innovation far exceeds our intelligence estimates. The resource cost of continuing this campaign has become prohibitive. The Emperor rose from his throne, towering over his advisors. He studied the strategic display where 17 systems now flashed with security compromises. What began as a straightforward conquest had transformed into an embarrassment that threatened to expose vulnerabilities throughout their empire. Play the message again, he ordered. The recording of Captain Chen activated. This is Captain Ilara Chen of Earth. Today, we spare your lives as a message to your leaders. Humanity cannot be erased through conventional warfare. We will strike from shadows, vanish before you can respond, and you will never know our true numbers or capabilities. Withdraw from human space, or next time, we won't be so merciful. Analyze her physiology, the Emperor commanded. The Imperial psychologist stepped forward. Her vocal patterns indicate absolute conviction, Your Eminence. There is no deception in her threat. She believes her force is capable of inflicting greater damage than they have chosen to. And yet we outnumber them thousands to 1. The Emperor noted, pacing before his war council. Our technology exceeds theirs in every measurable parameter. With respect, Your Eminence, Melvin ventured carefully. I believe we have encountered a variant of the tactical paradox of asymmetry. The Emperor paused, compound eyes narrowing. Explain. When a technologically superior force faces a radically adaptive opponent, conventional advantages can become liabilities. The humans have turned our strength, our systematic, predictable military doctrine, against us. They know how we will respond because we always respond optimally according to established parameters. While they respond unpredictably, the Emperor finished, understanding dawning. Precisely, Your Eminence. They violate optimal strategy deliberately. Their single vessel performs actions that by all tactical calculations should result in its destruction, yet succeeds through methods our analysts cannot anticipate. Behind closed mandibles, the Emperor calculated. The humans fought with the desperation of a cornered prey species. Each passing day of this failed conquest encouraged others in the Empire to question Vraxian invincibility. The cost of victory, if possible at all, now outweighed the benefit. If we withdraw, Military Governor Kexnar objected, other species may attempt similar resistance. If we continue, Melvin countered, and fail to subdue a single human vessel, the damage to imperial stability would be far greater. The Emperor made his decision with the cold calculation that had expanded the Vraxian dominion across 12 sectors of space. Open communications with the human authorities, he ordered. We will offer terms for mutual withdrawal. Admiral Crithel's mandibles clicked in surprise. Your Eminence, the invasion force will be redeployed to secure our existing territories. The Emperor interrupted. This campaign no longer serves imperial interests. The decision sent shockwaves through the imperial hierarchy. For the first time in 8 centuries, the Vraxian dominion had determined a conquest to be unworthy of further investment. As the War Council dispersed, the Emperor remained alone with strategist Melvin. Prepare a comprehensive analysis of human warfare, he ordered. I want to understand how a species with such limited resources transforms disadvantage into victory. And the official declaration? Melvin asked. We are not withdrawing out of weakness, the Emperor replied. We are recognizing that the human territory requires resources disproportionate to its value. The Empire has more profitable conquests to pursue. Both knew it was a face-saving deception, but in politics as in warfare, perception often mattered more than reality. The Indomitable emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, its reconfigured hull bearing the scars of an impossible campaign. Captain Chen stood on the makeshift bridge, emotion tightening her throat as Earth appeared on the main display. Still free, still unconquered. Incoming transmission from Lunar Command, reported Communications Officer Jensen. They're requesting authentication. Send them the Lazarus Protocol, Chen replied, allowing herself a small smile. Minutes passed before the channel opened to reveal the stunned face of Admiral Hector Ramirez, the last commanding officer of Earth's Defense Forces. Indomitable, we confirmed your destruction 63 days ago, he said, voice thick with disbelief. How is this? With respect, Admiral, Chen interrupted gently, we were merely presumed destroyed. And we bring good news. The Vraxians are requesting a ceasefire and withdrawal from all human territories. Silence filled the communication channel as Ramirez processed her words. Captain, we've lost 30% of our orbital defenses. Mars colony is under occupation. The Vraxian fleet outnumbers us by orders of magnitude. How could they possibly be withdrawing? They believe it's their decision, sir, Chen answered. I would recommend accepting their terms before they reconsider. As the Indomitable approached Earth orbit, it was joined by a growing escort, civilian vessels, medical transports, and whatever military craft had survived the initial Vraxian assault. The lone warship that changed the course of an interstellar war returned to the homeworld few expected would remain free. 6 hours later, Captain Chen stood in Earth's orbital command center, facing the combined leadership of humanity's defense forces. She had just finished presenting the full record of their 3-month campaign against the Vraxian Empire. Impossible, General Santos whispered, though the evidence couldn't be denied. 62 personnel, Admiral Ramirez said, shaking his head in wonder. One damaged warship against an empire that has conquered 17 species. Chen nodded. We didn't win through superior firepower, Admiral. We won by making them doubt their understanding of reality. By the end, they were seeing our phantom fleet everywhere. They still believe they faced multiple ships using advanced technology, added Commander Abazi. The Emperor himself now questions whether humans possess capabilities beyond their intelligence assessments. And the Vraxians have agreed to full withdrawal, Ramirez confirmed. They're framing it as a strategic redeployment, Chen explained. Saving face is important to their culture. But yes, they're leaving human space entirely and establishing a neutral zone along the border. In a private moment before the official celebration, Chen gathered her surviving crew, the 62 men and women who executed the most audacious military deception in human history. Their faces showed exhaustion, but also pride as she addressed them for the final time as a combat unit. What we've accomplished will be recorded in history books, if humanity still writes them, she told them. But what matters isn't that we survived or even that we won. What matters is that we've demonstrated something fundamental about our species. She gestured to the battered hull of the Indomitable, visible through the viewport. We didn't prevail because we had the biggest guns or the strongest armor. We prevailed because when faced with extinction, humanity doesn't accept defeat. We change the rules of engagement. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. As Earth celebrated the unexpected salvation, diplomatic channels opened with the Vraxian Empire. Their military analysts still debated how humans had created and deployed their phantom fleet. They never fully understood that their downfall came not from human technology, but from human psychology. The ability to transform disadvantage into opportunity, and to fight hardest when victory seems most impossible. The last entry in the Indomitable's official log read simply, "The difference between humans and Vraxians isn't biological or technological. It's that when they believed they'd destroyed our last warship, we saw it as the beginning of the fight, not the end." And somewhere in the vast archives of the Vraxian Empire, a new tactical doctrine was being written, one that would forever after classify humanity as unpredictable, adaptive, and to be approached with extreme caution.